My internet has been really bad for this last like 3 weeks. So it goes in and out. It's not very steady. So if I hop off, I'll hop right back on. I'll do what I can to make it the best. And I had to get a new phone. So I was unreachable for about 2 weeks because I had broken my other phone. So it's been a fun time here in my casa.
We're live.
Thank you. I just elevated Ed to, apparently he used the wrong link. Okay. Looks like everybody's here. It's like all the attendees, I was watching the attendee list populate. It looked like it stopped adding people. So I guess we'll get started. I want to call this meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. on March 17th, 2021. Let's recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Combs.
Here.
Mr. Ricks.
Here at my house.
Mr. Smith, present from my home. Mr. Swayze.
Present from my home.
Mr. Underwood.
Present from a hotel room in Lincoln, Nebraska. All right. I would like to make a motion to modify the agenda. I would like to make a motion to move 9.5, the audit, up to 9.1, just so we don't make the auditor hang around any longer than he needs to. I would also, well, actually, so do I have a second on that one?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right. I'd also like to make a motion to add other business 11.1 leave policy committee. Do I have a second on that one?
I'll second it.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other motions to modify or approve the agenda or modify the agenda? All right, hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs.
Aye.
Mr. Ricks.
Aye.
Mr. Smith. Aye. Mr. Swayze.
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Aye. That brings us to 4.0 open forum. We only have one person signed up to speak on open forum, and that's Ms. Dunn. Ms. Dunn, I have allowed you to talk and asked you to unmute, so please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to talk. My internet is also awful, so I'm just hoping that you can hear me.
We can.
Okay, I will. Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I understand that you have become aware of the staff concerns regarding the policy changes to GBGG dealing with the staff leave days. I wanted to speak with you about how valuable a benefit the old policy is to us as a staff. I've written and rewritten this address many times, and I've become aware that you're also considering a staff vacation leave policy. But I wanted to let you know how much we appreciate the old policy, which is or was entitled staff annual leave, as opposed to staff sick leave. It has, since I came to this district, the staff has always been able to use the personal leave days as we chose for sickness, broken down vehicles, appointments in town that could not be scheduled on Mondays, and even for moving. I believe the personal leave day policy treats the staff like adults who can use their days as they see fit. Many of the staff are commuters. We can't schedule our vehicle breakdowns, flats, and broken pipes. We can't always schedule our appointments with courthouses, lawyers, insurance agents, and other necessaries on Mondays. For much of the year, we leave for work before the sun comes up and we get home after it goes down. Most of the businesses I just mentioned are closed by the time we leave work. I think that allowing the staff to choose how we use our days is good for the school culture and climate. We don't have to lie and say we're sick when that's not the case. I see that you're also considering cutting the number of days we will be granted for staff sick days. The graduated table and baseline number of 8 personal leave days was something that we negotiated in a meet and confer in the past as a benefit. I would just say that 6 days may be a real problem for our young families who have children. The days could be used up with just 1 or 2 rounds of the colds or flus in families. There are other matters of concern with the change in the policy to include how we would be compensated for unused leave days when we leave the district, or how many days can be accumulated, and whether these days have to be use it or lose it kind of policy. I understand that this came about because of a CASB regulation, but it just seems like a drastic change. And I know that you're also looking at a staff vacation policy, but I ask that the board not take the staff annual leave day policy away from us, that we continue to be able to choose how we use our personal leave days. One staff member did tell me that losing the personal leave day policy benefit may impact whether they continue in our district. In the past, we have been able to meet in a meet and confer on issues that came up that drastically affected us. And I would like to ask that we maybe have a meet and confer process in this. Some staff members did sign a letter that I could get to your board secretary if you'd like. But I want to end my comments by saying that I'm concerned that this policy was adopted temporarily so quickly on the first reading in December without even making the staff aware of the policy change. And then we didn't hear about it even in January when it was adopted. And here it is March, and some of us are just now hearing about it and realizing that the impact that this might have on us. So I know the packets are available to us, but we don't always look at them. So, I just hope that you understand what our concerns are. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ms. Dunn. So, kind of, this has really been asked and answered already. I explained at the December board meeting when this policy was first brought up for review change, that this was a significant change. And I also explained that what CASB did was they just completely restructured their policies regarding leave. And they went from this one policy, GBGG, that talks about all staff leave, and they split it out into vacation days, they call it, but it's basically the same as annual leave. And then another policy for family leave, another policy for military leave, and there was 1 or 2 more. And what they did was they kept GBGG, and I don't know why they did it, doesn't make sense. And then they just renamed it as their sick leave policy, and it was really crazy. And so, of course, as soon as I heard that the staff had issues with this, I immediately took action. And you can see on the agenda, and hopefully in the packet if you looked at it, is that at this meeting, we are going to revert GBGG back to the way it was before December meeting, assuming we vote to approve it, but that's my proposal. And then also, if you're following the early part of the board meeting, we are going to form a committee comprised of at least 5 staff members representing both classified and certified and both schools. And we're going to ask them to come up with a common sense, Hanover-centric set of leave policies. And obviously there's certain things that legally we cannot do. So we cannot eliminate the family medical leave stuff that comes all the way from the federal government. But, we're going to ask them to put together that proposal. And then if you would like some kind of a work session or a meet and confer for the board member or two to look through and talk through those proposals or those proposed changes, we'll be more than happy to accommodate that. As I've said multiple times, the board, didn't dream these changes up. We are simply attempting to get a common sense set of up-to-date policies to govern the district. And if what CASB proposed doesn't make sense for this district, we have local control and we'll change it in as much as we can within the law, right? Obviously. So, and again, once the board and the staff agree on what we think these policies are best for us, then we will send them out for legal review to make sure that we're not adopting a policy that breaks some law. And that's what we're going to do moving forward. All right. That brings us to 5.0 consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent
I'll make a
agenda.
motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, so we'll let Mr. Smith take first and Mrs. Combs take second on that since they were really close. Call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Aye. That brings us to 6.1, remember comments. Mr. Swayze, sir, you're up.
I was going to have a big, long one for you, but since it's virtual, I'm just going to do a short one. I would like to make sure everybody knows Miss Nina has a website that the students go to, and I think it is an awesome site. It helps them in every aspect of the school for the middle school and high school. She has sent out emails to the students for college. She's constantly, I'm getting emails constantly from her about grants and about how to apply and what to do. And the website is also on our website, if I remember right, how to get to her website. And I think everybody should look into what she's done, because I think it's a great asset to our children.
Awesome. Is that it, sir? Okay.
Yes, that's it.
All right, Mr. Smith, sir.
So my comments tonight aren't necessarily my best comments, but I feel I need to make them because I'm starting to get frustrated. My frustration is there are those in the community that are getting on social media and they're literally bashing the district and the board. And, I'm a big boy. I can take a bashing when I need it. But there's one person in particular that's kind of instigating and saying things that they know not to be true. And I understand we have challenges in the district. I understand some hard decisions have been made in the district by the board on the district's behalf. But the one decision I'm going to go back to is when we unilaterally terminated our last superintendent. There was a confidential agreement that we entered into as part of that contractual agreement. If the community so much wants to know why that happened and why that person was unilaterally terminated in accordance with their contract, they need to contact that former superintendent in writing, ask him to waive the confidentiality, and this board will totally, I presume, tell you and let you understand why we released that superintendent. It's a contractual thing. It was in the district's best interest, and I'm appalled that those that know better are stirring the pot. And I'm sorry to have to say that, but it's starting to get frustrating because we're moving the district forward and we don't need to keep going back. And that's all I have.
Mr. Rick, sir?
No, I have nothing at this time.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Combs?
I don't have any comments right now.
All right, thank you. So my comments, I want to go back to one of the points that one of the people made it, or the Mrs. Dunn made it during open forum, and that is that generally, staff members don't review packets ahead of time. And I would just really like to encourage everyone, community members, staff members, teachers, all the classified staff, the administrators, everyone, to at the very least look through the agenda. The agenda is posted no later generally than 6:30 p.m. on Monday. And if you have one of those vague agenda items, like we have 3 of them on this agenda that talks about comprehensive policy review first read, at least look down to the cover sheets to see what policies are affected. We always make an effort when we create these packets to have the name of the policy on there, so you can at least see what the policy is regarding. And then if something is important to you and may potentially affect you, strongly encourage you to review the policy, come to the board meeting and ask your questions, or send us questions via email before the board meeting. Or if you can't make it to the board meeting for whatever reason, again, email us, call us. All of our contact information is on the website. We want to hear from you. We don't want to get into another situation that we just had with this staff leave policy. We don't necessarily know as board members what the potential impacts are to some of these policy changes, which is why we put them out for community review. And I just think that it's really, really, really important that everyone, every community member, the whole DAC committee, all the staff, on Monday night after 6:30, go and look at the agenda. And if you have questions, contact us. We will answer your questions. It's what we're here for. We're here to serve you, serve the community, and do what's in the best interest of the district. And clearly, GBGG was not in the best interest of the district. And I wish we would have known about that ahead of time. We would have taken care of it before it got changed. All right. Mr. Superintendent, sir.
So just very quickly, as I know we've got a big agenda tonight, for the first time ever, Hanover Junior Senior High School Knowledge Bowl State Qualifiers. We have some under the leadership of Miss Lynch. First time ever. They went to the tournament yesterday, 2 days ago, Monday and Tuesday, and qualified. They actually represented Hanover. We were just so impressed. So I want to make that public and share that wonderful news. Budget, we got word this morning. We should be getting in a couple of weeks from Miss Katie Anthus that School Finance Act should be pretty close to getting set. Miss Petrikaitis and myself will be getting together and getting budget ready, and it's looking pretty good preliminarily. And then last item, CMAS assessments. The state is still trying for a waiver. Until that happens, We are going to be testing CMAS, PSAT, and SAT. So parents, if you're listening, parents do have the option to opt out. I'm not encouraging that, but ELA, English Language Arts, for grades 3, 5, 7, math for 4, 6, 8 only, no social studies, no science. PSAT, SAT will be April 13th, and we're going to get our kids ready to go. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Brings us to 7.0. DAC report to the board. I've just elevated Mrs. Goggin. So please go ahead.
Hello. So we had a little bit different DAC meeting this month. Well, first we kind of reviewed what our meeting notes will look like. We were unable to vote on them because we haven't quite filled them out the right way. So we discussed what that looked like. And then I sent out one this month just so that we can be better going forward. We also discussed the COVID notification that came out and just kind of not the miscommunication a little bit on what happened with it. We had discussed that it might be better to have a more direct and a shorter version of it. It was also suggested for the website then to have that abbreviated version of it on there with the hyperlink to all of the legal pieces that really should be there, making sure that everyone can see those as well. Then we discussed a little bit of what happens at some of the other DAC meetings. I was able to attend one for District 11. Obviously, they have a lot more going on since they're a much larger district, but it was good for us to hear. So one thing that they talked about a little bit about their SAC committees, the school accountability ones, their budget committees. They really focused on Colorado being a choice state as they're having issues with keeping kids enrolled, and kind of what does that look like to get that focus back and to bring kids back into them. So with that, I started looking at other district websites to see kind of how they run themselves, what kind of culture they have, and just seeing different things that we might be able to do to kind of help keep that out there for us as well. So some of the things that we had seen were school attire being sold on the website, posts by staff on their community corner, parent and community recognition, a more defined strategic plan, high school course catalog. So there was a lot of different things that are out there for us to look at. We talked about the superintendent search and kind of where we stood on that, what we thought might be good for our district. Our input was that we did feel it was best to kind of have Tim be interim next year as well, and just see kind of where our budget lines. At Prairie Heights, they started something really exciting. So definitely a big shout out to Des. She worked hard to get backpacks for kids going. So there are certain criteria that have to be met for kids to be a part of that program, but essentially they'll be getting backpacks taken home over the weekend with food for them. Then it gets brought back and replenished. So being able to help those families is pretty amazing. The elementary school is continuing to grow. They're up to 126 students.
Emily, I have a question on that backpack thing. Have you guys engaged the Hanover Outreach Community Pantry? They have a plethora of resources they might be able to assist in that.
Okay, I can definitely pass that along as well. I just learned about the backpacks recently when we talked with Ms. Cheeseman. For those that might not be driving around Midway a lot, there is a lot of building continuing to happen. So our numbers will probably continue to increase in our district, which is exciting. They also did a Dr. Seuss themed door decoration in the school, and second grade took first place. So great job, Ms. Booker. We also wanted to bring up the fact that Prairie Heights is in need for subs, and that's something that is pretty vital for them. It also is part of helping to keep them going. For the junior senior high school, they're preparing for third quarter and volleyball season. They're continuing to move forward with technology, which is great. They have 30 more Chromebooks coming in. Another shout out for Miss Lynch. The high school of Matchwitz made it to state, so that was really exciting. And the middle school came in third in their season. In terms of action items for us this month, we did vote on locations of the meetings. So to help get more, hopefully, involvement in the community, we're going to alternate back and forth between the elementary school and the administrative building. We will continue to keep an online option open so that if someone cannot attend, they can attend virtually. So next month we will meet at Prairie Heights, and then the following month will be the admin building, and so on and so forth. And then just a little bit of a note on the board packets. I do want to say thank you to the board, because as I've been looking at other websites, I haven't seen another district so far that has board packets. So the fact that we do get that other piece of information is really nice for us. Most board websites show their minutes and their agendas only. So thank you guys for preparing those for us so that we have that other piece of information for us to review.
Awesome. And that's it. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. That brings us to 8.1, comprehensive policy review updates first read. So before I start, does anybody else have any particular policies that they want to call out, talk about before we roll through them?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Cohn. So there's some, I have notes on about 10 or so of these policies, but I'll scroll through them real quickly. Maybe if I can get to the folder. Okay, so first one's AC. These are all pretty vanilla changes. ACE1, we're gonna have to put the new superintendent data in there. I don't know if the law allows us just to say superintendent and then make it generic. We're gonna have to check into that. So that's one of the things that I want to check on before next month. ACE2 is vanilla. ACR1. So there's a number of days that we have to fill in a lot of places, and the old policy had days for that. I just want to make sure everybody's happy with the number of days in each step in the process. Every other change is kind of a little legalese change, but that's the only thing that's pertinent. So please make sure you put eyeballs on ACER1 again and make sure you're happy with the number of days for the steps. ACR2, I believe this is an adopt. It's a new thing that CASB added, so please review that. Make sure you're okay with that. I think that's a legally required one, so I don't know that there's much we can do with it. ADC, minor changes. ADER, again, one minor change that I see. BC, this should just be a review. Oh no, they changed the capitalization of one reference to Colorado statutes. That's the only change. BCR, the state changed the dollar value that relates to what is and is not considered reportable. for gifts and whatnot to board members. BEC, Cassie made a change regarding collective bargaining, doesn't really apply to us. And then there's another change talking about how we have to maintain recordings of executive sessions for 90 days. We've already been doing that. I don't know why that's considered a change. So this is BECR is our next one. That's just a revision. We added a reference to its parent policy. BEDHR, we added email address and then allowed for people to sign up to speak at open forum, either through a form or through the district's website. The exhibit that relates to that, again, just adding email address and the link to sign up if you want to sign up. BGA, oh God, I can't talk. BGA, policy implementation. CASB's rescinded this one. I'm not quite sure we want to rescind it, but feedback's appreciated. Basically says superintendent is responsible for carrying out policies and regulations. Employees are responsible for following the policies and regulations. I mean, it all seems pretty common sense stuff, and it seems to me that it's okay to remove it, but I want everyone's eyes on it, please. So this next one, this is a CBDE superintendent's contract exhibit. This is a work in progress. I made some changes to this based on some input from the district lawyer, and his review of my changes is still pending. CBF, superintendent's conduct. This is all straight CASB changes. I didn't see anything controversial in there. DAB, financial administration. No substantive changes. They just rephrased the sentence. DABE, the exhibit for that. They're pretty substantial changes, but it's basically a reiteration of the actual parent policy. It talks about what we have to post online and when, as far as financial transparency goes. DJB, federal procurement, lots of rules have changed on that, most significantly dollar values that may have impacts on the operations and maintenance. So we could get them to take a look at that. DJE, nothing substantive, that's bidding procedures. EBBA, which is prevention of disease and infection transmission. Nothing in there, just legalese. EBBAR, the regulation, adds scrubbing your hands for 20 seconds, and then some stuff about COVID. All right, EBCE, this is one we need to look at, and I think, Mr. Superintendent, this is a good one for you. EBCE, we need to talk about in the fill in the blank sections, what we're going to do to assist with remote instruction and how we're going to monitor student participation. And I know you already have provisions in place, so if you could just scrape those from wherever they are and put them in here for next meeting, that would be fabulous. EEA, they just changed legal references and cross references. EEAEG, this is a recommended rescission. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but the policy used to prevent drivers of school transportation vehicles, operators of school transportation vehicles from using wireless communication devices. And CASB is recommending rescinding that. We can certainly keep it if we think we need it. I would ask the operations and maintenance or transportation folks to look at that. EFC only changes in revised statutes references. GBAB. So this is one that we do not have. It's recommended. This is something that CASB added with the COVID pandemic. GGA, again, staff health, all CASB related stuff or legalese changes. It's associated regulation, just mirroring the changes in the parent policy. GBGH, this is another one that CASB has recommended that we adopt. This should be included in when we get around to talking about the committee that's gonna rewrite all of the leave policies. GBGH is a policy that talks about adding a sick leave bank, and I'm not quite sure we want this. I talked this over with the superintendent a while back, and we're just not sure it's something. I don't think it's something that you guys want to do, but certainly please take a look at it, and we'll include it in our leave rewrite. GBI, criminal history record information, all rooted in law, and we don't have it. CASB recommends that we add it. GCE, GCF, professional staff recruiting and hiring. Most of this is legalese and sentence restructuring. GCHA, GCHB, mentoring. The only revision is statute reference. HC, so professional staff induction program, minor edits. GCQC, GCQD, resignation of staff. Only one edit on that. It's associated regulation that talks about mandatory reporting. We don't have it. CASB recommends we add it. GCQF, only legal reference changes. It's associated regulation. We do not have. This is about discipline, suspension, and dismissal of professional staff. The mandatory reporting requirements associated with that. GDE, GDF, support staff recruiting and hiring. Minor changes. Talks about can't discriminate, that kind of stuff. GDQB, one extremely minor change, changing the word 10 to the number 10 and a legal reference. GDQD, support staff, discipline, suspension, dismissal. Again, minor edits. I'm sure we're going to see. Okay, so HIAMC, this is about HIV/AIDS. CASB's been purging all of their policies of this stuff. If you've noticed in some of the staff health stuff we saw earlier, they eliminated all the HIV/AIDS sections. And so they're recommending that we rescind this policy regarding HIV/AIDS. IHBIB, primary and pre-primary education. The only change is a legal reference. IHBK, preparation for post-secondary and workforce success. Again, only a legal reference. IHCDA, concurrent enrollment. Apparently people have been over defining what concurrent enrollment is. So CASB put in some guidance about what it is and what it is not, more specifically. And then, of course, the associated regulation, minor changes. IKA grading and assessment systems. They're all minor changes. ILBC, early literacy and reading comprehension. I'm not sure if that one change that's in there is substantive, so we probably have our reading folks take a look at that. ILBC. And then it's associated regulation. Again, kind of sort of just mirrors the changes that were made in the parent policy. JB, equal educational opportunities. These are all minor legalese changes. And I think that's it. Or maybe the, Google just wouldn't let me preview anymore. All right, JBB. Sexual harassment, significant changes here. I think if you look at the changes that are in AC, they kind of sort of mirror those changes. JEB, entrance age requirements. Just being more clear when they talk about entrance age. JF, admission and denial admission, all legalese stuff. Shalls to wills, stuff like that. JFBA, intra-district choice, basically just changing a legal reference. JFBB, all minor legal changes. JH, student absences and excuses. Nothing substantive that's changed there. JHE. So this is another one where it's not in the CASB core policy manual and they recommend that we delete it. So the real question is, do we need to keep it? And if so, do we need to change it? So Mr. Superintendent Surratt, I'm going to give that one to you. Make that assessment. JICDD, all minor changes. JICDE, bullying prevention and education, minor changes. And then there's a form, an exhibit that we don't have that we should adopt to help us deal with complaints. And then there's another exhibit, another form that CASB recommends that we adopt for the person doing the investigation to fill out. JICEA, school-related publications, no substantive changes, shall be to R. It's a legalese thing. JICEC, student distribution of non-curricular activities, no substantive changes. JII, students' concerns, complaints, and grievances, and it basically just throws in the language about non-discrimination. JKD, JKE exhibits, grounds for suspension, expulsion, adding a legal reference and adding the word health. JLCC, communicable infectious diseases. I have to believe this comes out of the CASB stuff, but all minor changes. Nothing I think affects anything. JLCDB, administration of medical marijuana qualified students. So this is a policy that CASB recommends that we have. We have not adopted it in the past. Basically, it just allows those students who are on medical marijuana to have their primary caregiver administer the medical marijuana on school grounds. And there's lots of qualifiers and constraints. And, with the legislature potentially expanding this, I think we should probably adopt it. But if anyone wants to pull it out and vote on it separately, please let me know. And then, of course, there's an exhibit, a form that has to be filled out for the primary caregiver. JLCGE, consent to release information. We do not have this exhibit, and CASB recommends that we adopt it. It's about healthcare stuff. JLDAC, screening and testing of students. Looks like only a legal reference change. JQ, student fees, fines, and charges. A legal reference change. Literally, it's a one-letter change from 2232 138 1E to H. And then KDB, public's right to know, freedom of information. They changed the fee that we can charge from $30 to $33.58 per hour for putting together a FORA request after 1 hour of work. KDE, crisis management. So, Mr. Superintendent, I need you to fill out some data in here before we can vote on it. So way back when this policy was written, it says that you had to achieve NIMS compliance by a certain date, and CASB is recommending that because the date should have been passed, that we put the date that we achieved NIMS compliance in there. That's a National Incident Management System, in case anyone's curious. KE, there are public concerns and complaints. There are substantive changes to this. So I would I would suggest that everyone would take a look at this KE. I don't think it really changes anything that we do, but there are significant changes. And then we're adding public concerns and complaints about instructional resources. And then I think we're adding public concerns and complaints about teaching methods, activities, or presentations. So basically the KE stuff, the stuff about methods, activities, presentations, and instructional methods have been pulled out of KE and put into two separate policies. KFA, public conduct on school property, just adds a legal reference and defines a deadly weapon. KI, visitors to schools. Again, it's just a mostly minor legal changes, shalls to wills and stuff like that. LBD, relations with district charter schools. So basically, we have to have this in case there's an in case somebody wants to have a charter school in our district, we need to have this in place before that gets started, or it'll make things more difficult. And these are all minor legal changes, shalls to wills and non-discrimination stuff. So LBDB1, this is an adopt. Trust me, I'm getting close to being done, people. Basically, this says that the Board of Education retains exclusive chartering authority within the district. So, and if we don't have this, then some outside company or organization somewhere could come in and set up a charter school in our district. So, and that's it for 8.1. I know I was boring you, but I didn't want anyone to be able to say that we didn't talk about it.
And Miss Miller has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was not looking at my Zoom. what policies, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna allow you to talk.
It was Georgia Miller, not Mueller.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Go ahead and unmute.
Am I audio?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You went over some of the JIs of school bullying,
Yes.
and did I hear you say there were changes to it?
Yes.
May I ask that first? There were. What kind of changes were made, and when do they take effect?
Well, they haven't been voted on. This is just the first read, and I will refer you to the board packet on the website so you can go through and
Board
see.
packet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then I have some questions on, I don't want to say favoritism. I'm not looking for that word, but I am looking for a possible children getting less resources, but only a few students getting less resources. How do you file a complaint with the board on this? And there are a lot of us parents who are really concerned about these.
Okay, so there is a formal complaint policy. Again, I'll refer you to the district website. If you would send me an email, I can tell you the particular policy to look for. That way you don't have to go searching around forever. And
that would be wonderful.
Yep, just go ahead and send me an email. My contact information is on the website.
It's on the website under Randy Underwood, I'm taking.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and there's a few.
Oh, you went mute.
Those to you as well. It's get that information directed to us. And again, you said the changes haven't been and needed to be voted on. When you say voted on, is it just the Board of Education voting, or is it the whole community?
No, ma'am, it's just the board.
Just the board. Okay. That will help with what's going on.
Yeah, so please review the changes in the board packet and give us your feedback.
Okay, and once I get the board packet and go through it, I will be directing, would I contact you?
Sure. You can copy the whole board if you like.
And can you tell me when it's going to be voted on?
Well, next month board meeting is its projected time frame, but if you raise concerns to the point that we feel we need to make changes to it before that, then we'll pull it out of the packet. We won't vote on it until we have a good working policy.
A good working policy. We have some parents who are very concerned on what is happening with the high school. And if we need to pull it out sooner, how would we just write you or?
Well, so I think you should probably pursue the, I mean, I don't know exactly what the issue is, and this is not really the time for it. But please contact me offline, or I think maybe the best thing to do is for you to initiate the grievance process, and then, you know, eventually if you're unsatisfied with the results, then it will elevate to the board and we can hear your grievance.
Okay. Okay, that would be helpful. I've never had to use these, or I didn't know how to use it, the resources that we able to as parents. So I really appreciate you directing us. And we appreciate
anytime.
that information.
I'm available via email 24/7. Anytime you have a question or
Great.
concern about how things work, I can certainly point in the direction of figuring out how things work.
Okay, and if resources are being pulled from our children, is that also in the bullying, or what would that go under?
Let's have a conversation offline. I don't want to get off track on this board meeting. We have our auditors waiting on us, and it's really
Okay.
not
Okay.
pertinent. So, but yeah, feel free to contact me, and we'll.
I will definitely be contacting you with the issues above that I've mentioned and where we can go with this. I appreciate your time, Mr. Underwood. We will be getting in touch with you. There's several parents that are going to be in this grievance process that is with the high school. The Prairie Elementary is wonderful. We enjoy what they do for kids and have.
All right. Thank you for your comments, ma'am. I really hate to do this, but I have to show off. We got to get moving along the agenda.
Just want you guys to know that.
All right. Thank you.
The high school, junior, senior high school, we have grievances with.
Ma'am, I'm going to mute you now. I'm sorry to do this, but we need to get moving on. Please contact me offline. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Miller. I'm sure we'll go forward. All right. So 8.2 comprehensive policy review. These are the policies that were postponed from last month, and we just want to get a status on where we are with them. Let me go back here. Okay. So we've got GBGD, which is workers' compensation. I believe that was assigned to you, Mr. Superintendent. We were going to send out a survey or something. Maybe that wasn't this one. Do you have any status on GBGD?
I do not have GBGD.
Okay. Then we'll status it again next month. So GCAE, E1 and E2, these are all sample contracts. Mr. Superintendent?
Correct. So the teacher alternative and administrative contracts, I did pull exhibits and compared with ours, and I'm ready to bring those forward for an April read or April approval, if we're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think that that's the best direction forward, awesome. Obviously, yeah. That's awesome.
I didn't see much variance. We catered to our district, which I think is appropriate, but I'll bring exhibits forward for approval.
Awesome. Next one is GCQEA, which is we need to determine how para expects us to deal with this voluntary early retirement policy that CASB's recommending that we adopt. Any status on that, sir?
As again, what I would say is we're in line with para, and I would not waive from that. In speaking with para and what we have in place, we're compliant, and I don't see any variance because the 5% is what we are aligning to, and that is what para, and that does align with our retired and Mr. Williams. Well, we have situations where we have used this and it's functional.
Okay. Brings us to GDD, which is classified staff leave. And I think we're just gonna put that on the leave committee. Thank you, sir. That brings us to GBEER 8.3 password management. So at the last meeting, we had a suggestion from, I believe, a community member that we make sure that all of our passwords to all of our not anything really other than email or to any email account that is set up as a position rather than a person's name, that we have two people that have access to that, and make sure that they are, accounted for and secured. And that's what this proposed regulation talks about. If there's any discussion on this, anyone have any problems with the numbers we put in there or the whatever content? Okay, then unless there's no objections, we're going to move this to second read next month. All right, that brings us to 8.4, community greenhouse and farmers market. Hold on, before we get started here. Yeah, okay. All right, let me open my Zoom window here. Why is my Zoom window not open? Ah, here we are. All right, so Mrs. Garrett, I have elevated you to speak. If you'd like to share your screen and give us your presentation.
Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for giving me the time this evening to present our proposal. Let me pull up my PowerPoint presentation here. So you guys are pretty much familiar with what I'm proposing because I brought it up a couple years ago and I sent you guys a rough draft of my plan. But back then I kind of was uncertain about the path I wanted to take. And now I kind of made a decision to pick it back up because of many discussions I've been having about self-sustainability and purchasing locally grown products. So my time earning my degree in anthropology opened my eyes to the ugly truth about the unhealthy meat and vegetables that we are buying in the grocery store. And learning the scientific process and details of genetically modified plants was distressing to me. And I realized that we weigh too much on expert opinion from top scientists without asking the right questions. And they're playing with fire when it comes to what they're doing with the GMOs. So not only are we relying on too much of that expert opinion, those opinions are being paid generously by the oligarchy elites who supply the world with food. So did you realize that 90% of the world's food supply comes from just 10 corporations, and that potatoes that you are eating are likely coming from China, even though we know Idaho grows plenty of them, but we export in food from China while we're exporting ours out, all because of political games, and so the men in the middle can make all the money. And we're the ones that are suffering because our food is not as fresh and nutritious as it should be. So we're risking contaminated food, manipulated with GMOs, unregulated and unsanitary food markets, and meat and dairy that is pumped with antibiotics and hormones. So, and who knows what else that's wreaking havoc on our immune and digestive systems. So I realized that the only way I can protect myself is self-sustainability, but who can do this, especially a busy mother on her own with limited income? So I began to realize the importance of community ties and relying on one another in our own local communities. I began to think about the possibilities of every town and community like ours across the country and the whole world doing something like I'm proposing here tonight. We could shut down the factory farms and give business back to the small farmers. And all the while we could improve our environment, cut pollution, restore our health, and freedom from the oligarchy control. So we have an opportunity to provide our community with close and safe access to healthy, locally grown food, as well as all the basic commodities and grocery items that they need, all while providing the community with an income for youth programs, upkeep, outreach, community events, and anything that we can think of that could boost social and economic growth within our community. So when I started the research about 7 or 8 years ago, originally I was thinking about how to fulfill an immediate need because we don't like the long drive to town. And I knew that a general store with a cafe would do really well out here. But now my eyes are open to a much bigger picture, which has the potential to have a significant impact on not just educational, social, and economic conditions in the community, but on our health and environment as well. So I'd like to present all of you to Hanover Midway Community Market, our key to economic, social, and educational growth, as well as safe access to healthy food.
Ma'am, your screen's not being shared right now.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Okay, let me go back here to where do I click on here to share my screen? Let me go back into because I know there was
When I go down, put my cursor down at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and there's a button that says share screen.
because I'm not seeing the button. Hold on just a second. Let me go back to that. Got it. I think I got it. No, that's not it. I'm not seeing the icon to click on share screen right here.
Then she have to start video and then share screen, because I don't even see her.
I don't see it on here at all. And I went into
All right, hold on. I'm gonna try something.
Now look, Miss Garrett.
Hold on. Oh, did you?
I bumped her to panelist, so she should be able to.
Ah, okay.
Miss Garrett, look down, hover at the bottom of your screen, and you should see that option to share screen now.
You see it, Ms. Garrett?
okay. It keeps telling me when I click on it that the host disabled participant screen sharing. So I'm not sure what's going on here.
I don't see an option to undo that. If you send me the charts, I can screen share them.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm getting ready to get it to her.
Oh, you know how to change that stuff on Zoom?
I figured it out. Now try Miss Garrett.
Okay. I think it's working now. It appeared to be. Let me see if I can.
It's working on our end. We're seeing it now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I see it now.
All right. Now if I get into my up.
Just hit F5.
Okay. Good thing you know the shortcut because I lost the screen that I was just on. That didn't do it. All right, let's see here.
Click on the slideshow tab.
That's what I just lost. It when you oh, I see it now. My vision. There we go. I got it. Okay. So Hanover Midway Community Market is a nonprofit organization that's proposing to obtain nearly $1 million in grant and loan money for the community to provide community greenhouses, mobile stores, and a farmer's market, and to create the necessary growth that our community needs. Proceeds from the community market can be used for educational programs, youth programs such as FFA, community events, assisting the community outreach through the churches, the park, and improvements to the community. And we've done extensive research and investigation to develop conservative, detailed financial projections that demonstrate that we will not only be able to cover costs of operations, but provide a significant profit to make a difference for everyone while providing a vital service for our community. Now, we have 7 members on our board, and I think there's 3 or 4 here with us tonight that I don't know if you want me to go ahead and finish the presentation and then just give them a chance to introduce themselves at the end and tell them a little bit about their backgrounds.
I don't think that's necessary for our purposes.
Well, it's up to you guys. I'm just giving you that opportunity if you would like for them to. So to be successful and to create the social and environmental change that we hope, it is no good just to start a business and supply access to healthy food to the community. That's been tried and failed. People tend to stick to their same unhealthy habits, even when access to healthy food is provided. So that is why it's so important to us to educate the students. Not only must we develop their knowledge for sustainable living by providing hands-on experience with different techniques for successful gardening through the community greenhouses, we need to teach them how to cook nutritious meals with the food they grow. We must teach them about preserving the environment. There are hands-on activities in gardening that can be linked to a variety of curriculums like science and arts, economics and math. Many people might not even consider the extent of which algebra is involved in horticulture. Also, I'm sure there are funding opportunities for the district that are specifically reserved for teaching sustainable living. Our organization can provide the avenue for this learning. So this is the Hanover's Midway Community Market's mobile food trailer. And they're custom made 45-foot long trailers that will be stocked with fresh food and basic commodities. We'll carry a limited stock of large variety of items to limit the distance our community members must drive to buy groceries and household necessities. There will be 2 overstock buildings that will be kept at 2 undisclosed properties where the trailers will be parked after closing. Online ordering will be available for those wanting large orders, and the buildings will not be far if restocking is necessary during the day. These trailers also have a concession kitchen where the community members can order burgers, breakfast sandwiches, hot dogs, etc. We chose a concession kitchen since we need the income from the concessions for the store to operate and to turn a decent profit. And what I have next to the trailer are the floor plans that we have set up. These here are just the big refrigerators and freezers. We have under-counter refrigerators and freezers for the concession.
I don't think we need that much detail.
Okay. So, but we have it set up so that we can basically provide a lot of stuff where we're going to have all the cabinets set up and all that. And this is the community greenhouses. There are, we're proposing 3 18 by 36 greenhouses. And instead of doing one large one at the high school, we kind of wanted to place 2 smaller ones for growing more variety. We've done detailed research, and most of our board members are gardeners and have all the required knowledge to keep them operating efficiently. And we plan to start off with all of two different types of hydroponic systems, the wicking systems and the ebb and flow systems, to grow a variety of herbs that are profitable and in demand. And we chose multiple systems mainly for educational purposes, so students and community members can learn about the different ways of gardening and specific gardening specific to High Plains gardening for our region. And we intend to incorporate the other methods of hydroponic gardening in time. And we will have two types of raised garden beds in them, for the deeper beds for the tomatoes, and then the 4x4 foot beds for the rest of the crops. And we also intend on having enough LED grow lamps so that in the greenhouse to maximize our yield. And we want the students to be a big part of what we're doing in the greenhouses and to be able to experiment and have hands-on learning. We just need to discuss with all of you the best place for them. I have a rough estimate from an electrician, and we can install an additional meter as well as a cistern to provide electricity and water we need. And we can do the same greenhouse at the elementary school. There could be a perfect space right there on the north side of the school, and we can also do an additional meter for our electricity at the elementary school. However, we would like to discuss the option of paying a water bill to the school, because I did research on water usage, and based on maximum figures, the absolute maximum amount a month would be about $50 through Wigwam. And it would just be more feasible and cost effective if we could make an arrangement with the district. And then we have the farmer's market. This is the farmer's market is 4,200 square foot building. And we wanted to lease booths to the community to come together to sell their produce. We want to encourage people in the community to get involved in growing or producing something on their property. And just so we have a large variety. And then we want the booth, we are making the booths portable. That way we can store them in the storage shed, so that the building, because we only want to be open 3 days a week with the farmer's market in the beginning, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday when there's no school. And then that way the building can be used for community needs, or the school whenever it's not being used by the farmer's market. And so we would like to place this in an eye-catching area of the park. And we've also discussed this with the park board. The other thing, and I forgot to mention this on the stores, that we discussed that with them too, because we would like to put one of the mobile stores at the park as well. And they are going to be discussing that and making a decision on that real soon. So we could put it on school property too, but it's whichever everyone thinks is best. So
Ms. Garrett, in case you don't know this, the park board doesn't own that land, the school does.
Right. I understand, but from what I understood, that I needed to talk to them for them to make a decision before coming to you guys about it.
Yeah, probably not a bad idea, but yeah.
Right. So, but since we're not just your average vendor asking for a lease, we're an organization set up for the benefit of education and our community. Providing proceeds for programs that benefit the students is what we had in mind in exchange for the use of the school land. But I'm going to hand it back over to you, Randy, and you can start that discussion.
So I think, I think it would probably be beneficial if maybe you and I just talk offline, because I have some ideas about where on school property some of these things would go. And, obviously we would need to clear, or, just at least let the park board know what we're thinking and get their feedback. Yeah, so, I think, yeah, we need to talk. I think we could definitely, we could lease you the land. The rest of the stuff, we need to figure out the mechanics of it, because if
right,
if your greenhouses are significant distance away from the nearest water pipe, that would require some money to lay some water pipe and all that fun stuff. So
well, now
talk through those things.
Right, yeah, because we did put in the plan, and what we intended on doing was a cistern next to the greenhouses. And not to, at the high school, and not to run water to them.
Okay. Yeah, so I think maybe you and I should probably have a little meeting offline and
Right,
through some of those things and yeah, I mean, it's definitely beneficial to community, and we can definitely lease you the land. We need to hash out the details.
right, exactly. Okay.
All right, is that all you have, ma'am?
That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you very much. Very much appreciated. There we go. Yeah, so if you would, Mrs. Garrett, if you would send me a couple of days and times that work for you, we can sit down and start talking through details on this.
I'll certainly do that.
Awesome. All right, so that brings us to 8.5 SCAP debrief.
Hey, Randy.
Sir.
Miss Jackson does have a question about it. She
Oh,
asked,
I'm sorry. I had that part covered.
Okay. Important.
So Mrs. Jackson, I would, I'm not the person to ask that question. I would send Mrs. Garrett an email and get in contact with her and ask her the question. She asked, things like this have been attempted before and were shut down by the county. What's different with this one? So I encourage you, Charity, would you like to give out your email address so people can get a hold of you?
Sure. We have a email. It's Hanover Midway Community Market @gmail.com.
All right. Thank you. Hey, Dwight, can you make Charity an attendee again? Thank you. All right, that brings us to SCAP debrief. Mr. Superintendent, sir.
So, Madam Board Assistant, if you would pull up the PowerPoint for this, I'll appreciate it. So pretty much, we're just going to be as quick as we can. I know we have the auditor on hold here, so Mr. Farmer, I'll get through this as quick as I can to expedite you. I know you've had a long day. First part of this whole item of business was the SCAP Student-Centered Accountability Program. We got a little bit that I want to get through. I had asked the board to review our document. It is comprehensive, so I feel for you if you did not. Miss Board Assistant, if you'll go to the next slide, please. We're just going to hit on a few things here and then wrap it up. Next slide, please. So, student-centered accountability. Right there is a program that is funded by the state to help with rural communities in getting what they want to consider a fair share that the bigger districts get. We don't, and that's a big statement for a lot of things, but I won't go into that. But pretty much it considers the whole child. And when I came to this district, that was one of the things that we have really tried to entertain, is what is whole child and how do we engage that with community? And that's what this is. Next slide, Madam Board Assistant. So if you'll click that district strategic priorities, this is on our homepage, and the UIP is when you sign up for, and just scroll down, there you go, keep going right there. The UIP, Universal Improvement Plan, is what the state holds every school accountable for that they have to write per annum. When you join SCAP, pretty much schools come to review you, and there is a intricate detail look fors and I'll get more into it in a minute, but they say, you know what, if you join us, we'll do the UIP and here's what you have to come up with. So you get feedback from them and then you devise how we cater this to our district, much like a UIP. But the district priorities, these are on our webpage, and these are our 4. And these we wrote last year. And the curriculum, the communication with stakeholders, the technology, and the culture. So what happens is they give you feedback, and these schools say, here's what we think we would like to see from the rubrics. And then we get together as a community and with them and say, what are our priorities based on the feedback they gave us? Okay, Madam Assistant, if you would go to the next slide. Then from there, what happens if you click the SSR resources? From there, what happens is this is now Hollyoaks, but when people come to view us, this homepage would say Hanover, and it was last February 17th. All of these things on the left, the audit of strategic priorities, the doc review, the schedule, blah, 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 are all the things they use to construct their criteria. When you click those, they get very in depth. We're not going to do that. Okay, Madam, if you would, there you go. Then the SCAP Adventure, and click that one. Here is what happens for us. This is the Hanover document review. So everybody that comes to us, pretty much if you click all the hyperlinks in this document, you will see Hanover. This is extremely comprehensive. And so I would encourage that anybody get a chance to say, who is Hanover? Please go in through here, and I'm not going to do this tonight, but all of our data, and Madam Assistant, if you'll scroll down just a little bit, our data is there. You'll see the SPFs, which is the School Performance Frameworks designed by the state, the district frameworks. Those are our report cards. If you continue to scroll down, all the data and trends is there. Our map data, what we've done with our structure-free interventions. It's extremely comprehensive in our RTI processes district-wide, and everything we're doing for SEL with ICAP. Again, I'm being very quick. Lesson planning, all of it. This is the Hanover School District we had to present last February 17th. So, Madam Board Assistant, if you would scroll to the next slide. From there then, we had GROWS. And this is what was given to us last year. Number 1 was our website. So you'll know, if you think back to the district priorities, communication was district priority number 2. And how do we communicate with our website? That was one of the GROWS. So we said district priority, communication with shareholders. That, I'm just paraphrasing. Then the big one I want you to remember, if you could, is a great deal, and I'm paraphrasing, I took this out of the feedback and cut and pasted it here, is you have a great deal of low-hanging fruit that could be placed and brought to the next level, lots of opportunity. And then branding, staff wants technology. You'll notice that was number 3 of our district priorities. And then culture, working harder to get culture to come around. This was feedback from last year. Number 4 was culture and the GROWS, or in our district priorities. Madam Board Assistant, if you would go to the next slide. Then this is what happened on February 17th. So if you, Madam Board Assistant, if you would click the SCAP, we actually, our executive assistant for the district and superintendent made this document that now most of the other districts stole from her because it was that good. Is she created a handbook. So everybody that comes to Hanover and says, okay, it's SCAP preview, she created a handbook that nobody else had on, hey, welcome to Hanover, and here is what you're going to get. She put it into a booklet for them. And when we went to Los Alamos and Marino and Paxton, and they said, you know what? We stole that from you. And this is what Miss Ricks did. And so these are the types of things that Hanover is doing now with people taking initiative, and people are stealing. And, you know, educators are the greatest copycats. Why reinvent the wheel? But Miss Ricks, I just want to pay her kudos, because now we have other districts that when you go to visit them, they'll say, we stole this from Hanover. I just want her to be acknowledged with that. Madam Assistant, if you want to scroll to the next link. And then what we did was I started with this intro. And pretty much that began June 30th at 10:14 p.m. when I accepted it and was appointed to this position. We gave them a 100-day plan because they needed to know this year what we were dealing with. And so I submitted to them the 100-day plan that I submitted to the board. And if you'll scroll down on that a little bit, they needed to get projection on where we were coming from and what we had to deal with. So part of those things were the communication, the rigor, and then the priorities. And so this is what I gave to them, and what we did with survey and how we were prioritizing the priorities and what we were doing to tackle that. Okay. Then from there, the focus was technology. So if you want to go back out to the slide there, Madam Assistant, thank you. We said technology was number one. That was priority number 3. Right people in the right places. That was part of the 100-day plan. And again, I'm going through this pretty quick, but please click this, because this was what we put together. The kids in Miss Dunn's class put this together to present to them.
I guess we'll see that another day.
Oh, crap. No. So we had 2 videos we were going to show there on what we did to brand the district. Can you, Madam Assistant, can you get the branding one? I'm guessing no.
Looks like it's loading.
Okay, let's play this one. This is our to address branding. The kids made this. No sound. No sound.
Yeah, it's got subtitles.
It's Mr. Porwood having some fun. Again, the focus here is what have we done for low-hanging fruit?
But this was branding.
Yep. Well, branding is the hanging fruit. That's what they were talking about.
Oh, okay.
They had spent a lot of time with school, inside the school. That's what the first video was going to show, is how are we branding kids, academic work. Okay, thank you.
Credits.
Yeah. The exciting thing for all of this was the kids made this and got to present it to our SCAP attendees. It was really cool. And then, Madam Assistant, the last one, yeah, I don't know if you can get either, I hope you can, is our big push with the district, and I know Ms. Principal Cheeseman is doing the same thing over at her school, is addressing SEL needs. So let's go to next. This is she put on our website that is addressing how we are handling the social emotional instruction and interventions in our district at the junior senior high school. And Madam Assistant, if you would just quickly click on one or two of those, it's actually quite cool because each of these go to different tangents of what we're doing specifically just for this with the tools we're using. Each of those captions have this type, and in an effort to get Mr. Farmer his time here. We'll skip through the details. I encourage the board to review through these things, the ICAP individual career academic plans that she has comprised. Just absolutely wonderful, wonderful stuff. So Madam Assistant, if you want to skip through, we're good there. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I don't know, because Miss Cheeseman, have you been elevated, Miss Cheeseman? She's got a video, Madam Assistant, can you get that video if we don't have sound? I don't know. If we can show this. Do we have sound for this?
No, it doesn't sound like it unless it's
Okay.
muted.
Ms. Cheeseman, I'll let you walk
That's-
through this.
We basically did a video for we wanted the students to express what they loved about Prairie Heights, and we took videos and we put it to music, and we walked around all of Prairie Heights. And so we definitely condensed this for the board meeting, but the kids, basically there's videos of all the kids telling everybody what they felt that they felt was important, or what they liked about Prairie Heights, or what they felt was special about Prairie Heights. And that's what the video was about. And so you get to see all their cute little faces, obviously. And then, so that's what the video is about. And if you ever want to watch it, you can just let us know. We can send you the video. It is
Why don't
actually
we put the links on the website?
We can do that. It's really, really a cute video. So we can go ahead and stop the video. It really just goes through this, and then it has the kiddos, and then it just, shows more of the bikes that we've done for the kids. And I know we're short on time, so I want to make sure that I honor that as well. If you want to go to the next, back to that main slide. So the talking points that we had for Prairie Heights, and as far as to the strategic priorities, was for the curriculum piece, we obviously wrote the grant, and we got the grant, which was amazing. And then also Mr. McNerney will speak to later this next board meeting, I believe, to some of the other highlights for the curriculum pieces that we've hit and accomplished this school year. If you want to go back just one more, that would be great. Thank you so much. We started our year off with what our why was, and we chose the man in the arena. Basically, we are the man in the arena. We're in there. We're always trying. We're doing our best all year long, and it doesn't matter, what our critics might say. We are in the arena, and we're giving it our best every day. We also did a technology piece. Obviously, all of our students have technology one-to-one, which is amazing, and we really appreciate that. And they have headphones, and we've actually had to order more because we keep growing. So there's that. Then we also wanted to focus really on our culture, the culture of our building. So I started the year off with t-shirts for all of the staff that say, "My favorite people call me," and then their last names. We have the whole building lined with stars for the kids with their names and positive attributes about each one of them. We've also started with the bikes for the kids. Once a month, 4 bikes are given away. We've done pizza, the back to school barbecue. If you want to hit the next one, that would be great. Thank you so much. And then really just the staff. The staff in of itself is pretty amazing. They really show up every day. They work as a team. They really just celebrate everybody's accomplishments, and they truly are an amazing team, and they really work well together. And they find the positives in everything, and it's an amazing team. So, and preschool, Jody had given some positives too, but just that her program is growing. She's got she's passing all of her inspections with flying colors, and her preschool is full, and she actually has a waiting list. So there you go.
Thank you.
Okay. Then, Madam Board Assistant, if you would just click that summary of feedback. This is what they gave us from this year. This document is all everybody. Okay, so they gave us all the feedback this year, and I wanted to give that to you live. But in a nutshell, they addressed our low-hanging fruit, the 100-day plan, what Michelle's doing at Prairie Heights, what Chuck's doing with the district. Got just wonderful, wonderful reviews. So we were very pleased with the feedback we got this year and the growth that we are achieving as a district. So paraphrased very quickly, you have document on this, and we're very proud of the work we've done this year as a district, and the cabinet and the staff and the kids they kicked it. So that's what we have for you.
Awesome. Thank you. So you go and
That was some amazing stuff. Appreciate it.
And we're good. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right, that brings us to website hosting migration update. Mr. Superintendent, you have a quick status on that for us?
I do. And that status pretty much is by next week. We're hoping by the end of the week that the new platform will be fully secure and we'll be moving forward. But we're not jumping too quick with that. Our webmaster has just been going nuts with this and just doing amazing work. Again, back to strategic priorities with communication. So next week, new platform, fully secure, and we're not going to move too quick because we want it right. But Madam Webmaster is just doing amazing work.
Awesome. Thank you. Up next is social media platforms for district update. Mr. Secretary, do you have an update on that?
No, I do not have an update on that at this time.
Okay. All right. Then that brings us to 9.1, the 2019-2020 annual audit. Do I have a motion to approve the 2019-2020 annual audit?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Finally, sir, you are up.
Okay, I think I am muted.
We got you.
All right. Well, my name is Ron Farmer. I did the audit this past year for Hanover School District. And I don't have a cold, I just have a cough that I can't get rid of. And I don't smoke, so I don't even have a reason for the cough. So if I turn around and cough a couple of times, it's because of a very dry throat. Before I go through this though, are there any questions or specific questions that anyone has, any board member has, or anything you'd like for me to go over in a little more detail before we go through the audit? Okay, everybody has a copy of the audit, I assume, or has seen a copy of the audit. Okay. I'd like to first of all thank Pat for all of her help during the audit itself, because whenever I first rolled in, I told her there were two things that I had to have before I would even start the audit, and that was a balanced set of books, which the books were balanced, although the balance sheet didn't have the prior year numbers rolled forward, which is fine. We worked around that without any problems. And then the second thing was that the banks had to be reconciled, and the banks were reconciled kind of. And we'll talk about the kind of as we go through this. First thing I'd like to point out is on pages 3 and 4 of the financial statements is what's considered the GASB 34 financial statements. And those 2 pages take all of the funds that the school district has and presents the school district as one big fund. Now, that's not the way you operate the school. It's not anything that you need to be concerned with or do anything with. It's just required presentation. The thing to point out, though, is at the bottom of the page is you have a negative net worth of about $3.7 million. The reason for that is your share of PERA is about $5.5 million liability. And as a deferred benefit plan, which PERA is, you all, every school district, every organization, governmental entity that's part of PERA has a liability that changes from year to year based upon the actuarial assumptions that PERA uses to arrive at the numbers that are presented in the financial statement. You guys share in this overall unfunded liability, and your share at the end of June last year was about $5.5 million. But what I want to point out is you can't do anything about it. You can't take it off the financial statements. You can't even fund it. If somebody happened to give you $5.5 million and you gave it to PERA, your unfunded liability would go down to about $5.4 million because you share in the whole liability, not just those particular dollars. And so the state of Colorado 3 years ago came up with a 30-year plan to get PERA right side up. So all of you on the board now, you've got a deficit fund balance. It's one definition of bankruptcy. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't worry about it. Don't lose any sleep over it. Because it is what it is, and there's nothing you can do with it. So with that said, if you look at page 5 of the financial statements, this shows the 3 major funds the district has, and then also the other governmental funds, which are just smaller funds that the district also has. And this is really just the balance sheet by individual fund. And this is the information you see month to month on the financial information that Pat puts together and presents to the board. As I mentioned earlier, the balance sheet wasn't complete because the beginning balance from June 30, 19 was not rolled forward into the 2019-2020 financial statements. I made a journal entry, which was an opening entry, and brought everything up to date. Pat made all the entries that I gave her to make on the audit, of which there were several entries. And then she went through the process of going to CDE with the information. Page 5, again, is just a balance sheet. It lists out the amount of cash you have. It lists out the fund balances and so on. But if you turn to page 7, this is the income statement, and we'll talk about the general fund more than the other 2 funds that are presented individually. Whenever you look at the general fund, which that fund can legally do about anything any other fund can do, you take a look at the revenues and the expenses. Did you make a profit? Did you lose money? And for the June 30, 20 year end, about 2/3 of the way down the page, there's a $270,000 number in brackets. That fund lost $270,000 in that 12-month period. That left you with a fund balance of $205,000. Now, a rule of thumb is that a general fund should have a fund balance of approximately 30% of its expenditures. Your expenditures were $4 million, your fund balance should be $1.2 million. Okay, the 1.2 million is a rough rule of thumb. It doesn't have to be that large. It can be bigger than that also, but it gives you enough money to do certain things that you're talking about doing. The previous presentation, which I thought was extremely interesting, by the way, it was going to take some money to put together. There's also other things that you talked about just with me sitting here that's going to take some money. And you don't, as a district, don't have a lot of money to spend on those types of items. At least 10 months ago, you did not. I'm assuming that didn't change any to this point. Now, $205,000 fund balance is not big enough to do much with. You're living hand to mouth. And then if you go back to page 5, what you see is $135,000 on Tabor. CDE requires you to set a certain amount of money, 3% of your non-federal money, aside in Tabor. And out of that 205,000, 135 of it is wrapped up in Tabor. You can spend a Tabor fund balance, but you have to replace it within 2 years. And if you don't replace it within 2 years, you've got a statutory violation. Okay, so your fund balance really isn't 205, it's actually 205 less than 35,000. So you're just running hand to mouth on the general fund. And that's not the best place to be by any stretch. Back on page 7, the title program, those are generally federal funds, and that program or those programs cannot make a profit or lose money. So there were some journal entries made at year end to make that happen. It's just one of those things CDE requires. There is no fund balance. Then your debt service fund has $1 million fund balance. And until the debt is paid off, that $1 million fund balance, which equates out to $1 million cash, has to stay in the debt service fund. When the debt's paid off, if there's any cash left in the debt service fund, it transfers to the general fund. Okay, and that's by statute. It doesn't take a vote of anybody to do that. So again, if you have money left over when the last debt is paid, the bonded debt, not any capitalized debt or lease finance agreements or anything else, then that money can transfer to the general fund and help prop the general fund up. But that's going to be 5 or 6 years down the road from now. Okay. Any questions?
None from me, sir.
Footnotes start on page 9, excuse me, and they go on for several pages. There's a lot of information in the footnotes. I do recommend you go through those. If you haven't read those, it'll tell you a lot about the district, a lot about its position, some of the theory of the accounts and why they're set up this way. Page 17 has a listing of long-term debt, and your bonded debt is 2.8 million, 2,795,000 at the end of this school year. Capital leases, and then the PERA portion, and then the OPEB portion, other post-employment benefits, which is the healthcare plan under PERA, and then compensated absences of 42,000. So that's where the debt is. And again, 5.5 million of that debt you really can't do anything about. The rest of it you're paying off. The debt service fund's being paid off with the mill levy. The mill levy goes away when the final debt payment is made. And then you've got the leases on capital leases and stuff that you are paid off as you go along. And that the lease disclosures are on pages 18 and 19, give you more detail about those leases. Pension plan, which is the defined benefit plan, starts on page 20 and goes on for 15 pages. If you don't have anything to do late at night and can't go to sleep, definitely read that footnote, because it will. It's
enthralling.
Yeah, it's very dry. The other thing I'd like to point out is under the budget for the general fund, which is on page 43. And the budget process that the previous superintendent was going through and presenting to the board was, well, it was very misleading. It showed a fund balance that was not realistic. It showed revenues that were somewhat realistic. The expenditures weren't even close. And it gave you, in my opinion, if I were a board member, I would look at that with a false sense of security is what I think it gave each board member. Because that budget should be a working document. It should be a live document. But the way it was set up and what I went through to get the budget numbers, Pat had to send me a couple of budgets because the first one she gave me wasn't right. You budgeted, or the superintendent budgeted, an assigned fund balance, which is impossible to do mathematically. It doesn't work. It doesn't work from an accounting standpoint. And when you look at page 43, at June 30, 2020, your budgeted fund balance after the supplemental budget was adopted was 775,000. Your actual budget's 205,000. You guys, the budget process has got to change to give you a document that you guys can use to manage the organization. Because whenever you look at the budget that was adopted for this most recent year end, the June 30, 2020, everything's turning up roses. And they're in the rose anywhere in this thing. You guys are one of the poorest school districts that I've ever dealt with. And it's taken a long time to get there. It's going to take you a longer time unless there are some grants that don't have to be spent for specific purposes to get you out of this hole. And you do have a hole there that you need to work yourselves through. And it's going to take some time to do that. And it's going to take some hard decisions to be made that are definitely, you know, when you look at them, they have to be made for the future of the district. They're not going to be decisions that are going to help this year or next year. It's going to be years down the road that this thing has to build up to. So again, it's something I encourage you to look at. I encourage you to take a hard look at the financials, take a hard look at the budget, see where you're at budget to actual, and make sure that what you're doing budget-wise truly reflects what is going on in reality, so that you know what you can budget going forward and what you can't spend money on going forward, because you don't have a lot of money to spend. Okay?
Yes, sir.
The other funds, excuse me, on page 44, start off with the non-major funds. You can see food service and the capital reserve fund are both overdrawn. That means that the general fund's cash has to be used to cover these funds. And again, there's not a lot of cash in the general fund that you can spend money on outside of day-to-day operations. Pupil activity fund, 16,000, and that's a fine balance for that type of a fund. It's not any big deal one way or the other. But when the food service fund is overdrawn 106,000, and with the type of fund it is, it's just like the general fund, and it's going to take a long time to get it to a positive position. So again, I think you have your work cut out for you financially anyway to really turn the school district around, and it's going to take some time to do that. So just again, that's my story about all of that. The budgets, most of the budgets were overspent, even though there was a supplemental adopted in January. Excuse me, the actual numbers were in excess of the budgeted amounts, and that's noted in the last footnote, and the footnotes themselves. Pat learned a lot, I think. She does know debits and credits, which is one thing I asked her about. She does not worked on a school district, and she certainly hadn't worked with CDE before. She spent a lot of time and spent a lot of effort on her part to get the CDE errors and warnings corrected. A lot of those errors, when you look at them, make absolutely no sense. You have a fund of 90 that has to go in, and you don't budget a fund of 90. It's just the debt service information that CDE wants to see if you have bonded debt. You also have, and this is the most ridiculous thing I've seen from CDE in years, is you have to have a specific account to indicate to CDE whether or not you have SWAP funding, SWAP. Most small districts don't get it. The larger ones do, which goes back to what was said earlier by the superintendent, that some of the funding done for school districts is done for the bigger schools, not the smaller schools. Hanover didn't get any, so there was no need to have an account, but CDE made Pat create an account and show a zero balance. And it doesn't make sense, but they have the gold, and so you follow their golden rule and do whatever. And that's just one example of some of the things that CDE requires that Pat had to go through, and she did a good job of going through it. There were several submissions, which you can have as many as you want, but I'm dealing with a school district now that probably is on their 30th or 35th submission of CDE information, and they're slowly whittling it down, but it just has to match everything. And it has to match within $1 of what CDE says it is. And again, Pat was able to figure a lot of that out on her own. I helped her with a couple of things, but overall she did a very good job. So I think you've got a good person to help you financially at least keep track of everything, to give you the numbers that you can rely on as you go forward with the district. And again, it's going to take some time and a lot of effort on everybody's part to really turn this around to get the cash where it needs to be. The 1.2 million, 30%, a rule of thumb, not etched in stone anywhere, but your fund balance should be, the 700,000 to 800,000 at least as you're going forward.
Absolutely. Is that all you have to present, sir?
That's all I have, unless somebody has some questions.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, if anybody had any questions.
No, I just wanted to thank you for that that report, and for those kind words about Pat and the hard work she's done for us. She has done a lot of work, and as a board, we know, I know personally there's some work we need to do in the future, but I think we have some of the right people in the right place so that we can move forward as a district.
Well, that's good, because it's going to take a group effort. It's not going to be done by one person by any means. It's going to take everybody working together, and you're going to make some decisions that aren't going to be looked upon favorably by the population. I can guarantee you that. But that's why you're paid the big bucks, is to make those hard decisions. So,
Melissa, you have a question? You can go ahead and unmute yourself. I can't unmute you myself. All right, while we're waiting on Melissa, does anybody else have any questions? Again, I want to thank you for your report, sir, and I also want to myself give kudos to Pat. She taught me a little bit of what she learned, so I'm grateful for that. Melissa, why not, can you do a Q&A and just type your question in there since you can't unmute? You really need to move on. All right, Melissa, if you, oh, wait, I think you unmuted. No. All right, Melissa, just send me an email and I'll get your question answered.
Yeah, Pat has my email address. If somebody wants to send me an email directly, I'll be glad to answer. So that's not a problem.
Thank you, sir. So later on, we'll have your engagement letter for next year. I don't expect you to stick around for that unless you really just have time to kill.
Yeah, I'll let you guys get back to your meeting. I appreciate the time. And be sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay. Any other further discussion on the audit? All right, call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Aye. Motion carries. Audit's approved. Brings us to 9.2, 2021 Comprehensive Policy Review, 2018 Reconciliation, second read. Do I have a motion to approve 9.2?
I'll make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion.
To approve 9.2.
Mr. Swayze got in first, so by my.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'm not going to go through these like I did in the previous first read stuff because we've been through them. So for those of you, if you remember earlier, we had a discussion on them where we talked about several policies that were pulled out of this after the first read. Those are not included in here. Any questions, comments, concerns, etc. on the old 9.1, what is currently 9.2?
None for me.
Thank you, Mrs. Combs.
I have none.
All right. So then unless Ed or Paul, oh, Ed.
Nope, I don't have any.
Okay. All right. Call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Aye. Motion carries. I encourage everyone to please, a little late now that they're passed, please look at them and all right, that brings us to 9.3, the 2021 Comprehensive Policy Reviews. Do I have a motion to approve 9.3?
I'll make a motion to approve
Make a
9.3.
motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Swayze. We'll take yours as a second, Mrs. Combs. So these are just reviews. There are no changes. It's a way to make sure that we get eyes on policies every so often. And oh, I can't remember. There's a good 15, 20 of them, but there's no changes to any of them. Any other questions, concerns, comments, discussion on 9.3, I believe it is. Yes, 9.3.
Done.
None, call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Aye, motion carries. Brings us to 9.4, second read, regulation BGR2, policy review and update process. Do I have a motion to approve 9.4?
I'll move to approve 9.4.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, questions, comments, discussion. So to catch you up, this is a custom regulation that we wrote on how we are going to update policies and how frequently and whatnot. Questions, comments, concerns, discussion. All right, hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Aye. Motion carries. Brings us to 9.5, second read of Exhibit GDBAE, support staff salary schedule. Do I have a motion to approve 9.5?
I'll motion to approve.
Thanks, sir. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, sir. So as a real quick update, this is a update due to the Colorado law minimum wage change. Any questions, comments, concerns, or discussions? All right, hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Motion carries.
Mr. Underwood, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry, did I have a little internet hiccup? Am I back?
Yeah, your speaker's coming in and going.
Absolutely fabulous. All right.
Must be in Nebraska.
That brings us to 9.6, the 2021-2022 academic calendar. Do I have a motion to approve 9.6?
I'll make the motion to approve 9.6.
Okay, I heard Mrs. Combs first and then Mr. Swayze. Thank you. Ms. McNerney, would you like to give us a brief synopsis?
Yeah, we got together and pretty much the academic calendar will remain intact. The big thing was the CCIRA. We're going to do a district in an effort to promote the vertical alignment with K-12 is we're going to stay home, so to speak, and do some PD. We did that this year and got really good reviews. So other than that, no major changes.
Okay. Ms. Goggin asked the question on the Q&A if it said, did the calendar go to the committee as well? I'm assuming she meant the DAC.
No, it did not go to the DAC.
Okay. All right, so Emily, if you would look at it the next time you have a DAC meeting, and if you have any comments, please bring it forward. I mean, it's basically just like last year. I don't know if there would be anything controversial.
No.
Yes, it did go to the
school calendar committee.
It did go to the school calendar committee. He actually said that probably when you were typing. All right. Any other questions on academic calendar? I'm sorry, Tim, I do have one.
No.
You bounced it against like CRS and all that fun stuff. You got the right number, and CDE, and you got the contact days, hours, weeks, minutes, seconds,
days, hours, weeks, minutes. We conferred, my executive assistant and I conferred with CDE. We are compliant and actually above compliance.
All right. Cool. All right, anything else?
No, sir.
None for me.
All right, call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
Aye.
Mr. Underwood,
Aye. Motion carries. Next year's academic calendar is approved. That brings us to 9.7, temporary approval, first read, GBGG staff annual leave. Do I have a motion to approve 9.7?
I'll make a motion to approve 9.7.
Thank you, Mrs. Combs. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
All right, so this is the language GBGG before we changed it in December. Verbatim. Basically, I found the Word document and rejected all changes. We'll talk about the committee here in a little bit at the end of the meeting. Any other questions, comments, concerns, discussion on GBGG?
I just want to
No, I just wanna
shout out
say
there
I
to
think
the
that
the teachers that brought, or the staff that brought the concerns up. That's very important as a board, because we read these policies, we look at these policies, and we don't live these policies, and you do. So thank you for bringing that up. And I would encourage you to try to bring that up a little quicker when you notice it, because just as you're seeing tonight, we're open to a mulligan, and let's work together as a team and make this right for our staff. So thank you for bringing that up. And I encourage you to keep the eye on the ball with policies and stuff, that especially those that have some more impacts. Because when I read them, I kind of look at the impact of how does it really affect us today, maybe next year. And there's some impacts here beyond that. And I thank you for bringing those up, and please be diligent, because, you know, we don't live your life, and it's hard. So it's hard for us to sometimes catch all of that. So thank you.
Mrs. Combs, you had a comment?
I was just saying the same thing. I'm glad that it was brought to our attention so we could fix it. And I'm just glad to see us taking action on it. And I just appreciate the teachers on bringing it to us as well. Same thing as Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, please, I don't know. I've said it all. I'm not going to repeat myself. I know Ed's probably really tired of hearing me talk. All right, anything else? All right, call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Aye. Motion carries. GBGG is back the way it was. Brings us to 9.8, bank account modifications. Do I have a motion to approve 9.8?
I make a motion to approve 9.8.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so basically our signature card at Farmer State Bank is out of date. Pat, my question to you on this is, do we need a resolution, or is just the minutes from this good enough? Man, we are not having good luck with.
Isn't it the minutes that?
Here we go.
It's just the
last time we
minutes,
had-
Randy. That's all I need.
Okay, so when you get the minutes, can you ask them to purge records of the minutes and all the other stuff in the past?
I don't know if I can purge it, but they can probably move it to history and just put in what's
Okay.
current and needed.
All right, so
That
another
was
one of the
pretty
things
old.
is that currently there's 3 signatures required on the Farmer State Bank. And Pat was telling me that that we can set that by district. There's nothing at the state law level that requires us to do it one way or the other. But we do have to give direction to the bank about how many signatures we require. Currently, this motion, as it stands, as introduced, reduces the number of signatures from 3 to 2. Anybody have any questions about that?
Just going from off of previous minutes, In this motion, we
You know
also
why we
need to
have three?
designate by name who those two signature people will be.
Well, we kind of sort of do by default in the cover sheet because it says that there's currently 3 people on it and we're just removing one. We're moving.
What we need is to have, what I'd like is 3 signers on the account, but only 2 signatures required. That way, when there's a change in who's on that account, I'm never completely out of compliance with the bank. You see what I'm saying? If I have 2 signatures that I can fall back, if I have 3 signatures I can fall back on, if somebody is not, voted in the next election, et cetera, I'm not, basically, right now, I'm completely out of compliance with the bank. I'm trying to prevent that. So if I have
Okay,
3.
so I misunderstood that when I wrote this cover sheet. Because as the motion stands right now, it's just 2 signatures.
Yeah, and right now we require 3. And we're not compliant because we don't have 3 current signatures
Well,
at the. We have
right,
2.
we understand, which is why the motion was to remove a previous board member
Right,
from the signature card.
correct.
So you're saying you want 3 names, but only 2 signatures required on a check.
Yes.
Well, then we would have to amend the motion.
Actually,
Okay,
we wouldn't have to amend it, I don't believe, because as it reads, it says to reduce the number of signatures required from 3 to 2. So we're
Correct.
reducing it from 3 to 2.
Okay, so then, but we still need to amend the motion to add a board member to the signature card.
So
I thought you already had that in there.
So we have, let me break this down as I understand it. Essentially what we're doing is the motion will do 2 things. So we will need to amend, but just let me make sure if I understand, and we're going to change it from required 3 to 2, and then we're going to designate our 3 signatures, but we'd only require 2 of those 3.
Oh yeah, it does say that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought it was right when you sent it to me, Randy.
Yeah. Okay, so it
Well, I think what needs to happen is I need to go into the bank and get my signature done.
Yeah, but
Yes,
you can't
ma'am.
do that until you have minutes that say you're authorized to do that. And I think this will do it. The way I read this cover sheet, it says move previous board member, add Danielle Combs to the account. It says update signature card and reduce the number of signatures required from 3 to 2. That's it.
True.
That covers it.
So let's vote.
Okay. I think we're good.
So is our current
Okay.
3 on
When
there?
can I go to the bank? When will these minutes be good for me to go to the bank?
Well, I mean, I don't know. We have a special in short order to approve the minutes.
So currently we have Mr. Underwood, Mr. Swayze, and Mr. Allen on the card.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
A former board member.
Right, former board member. Okay.
Yes.
And it's
we
on
need
the
to
cover
remove
sheet.
that.
Just making sure I got it right, so I understand truly what I'm about to vote on.
We are removing a former board member from the signature card. We are adding Mrs. Combs to the signature card. We are reducing the number of signatures required on checks and whatnot from 3 to 2. That is what the cover sheet says. Is that okay?
So we'll have 3 on
Any,
file.
Pat, was that you?
That
Or
was
was it Danielle?
That was Danielle.
Danielle, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said that we just have to, we're gonna have the 3 signatures on file, but only 2 required.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
All right, any further questions, comments, concerns, discussion on this? All right, hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Secretary, if you let us know as soon as you can get those minutes done, we'll have a special to approve those so we can get them to Pat.
Most certainly.
All right, that brings us to 9.9, 2020-2021 Auditor Engagement Letter. Do I have a motion to approve 9.9?
I'll move to approve 9.9.
Wow, 3 simultaneously. Dwight, you can pick.
Swayze can be first, I'll be second.
All right, so basically this is just a letter that we are approving, authorizing my signature, saying that we are going to hire the auditor, same person, Mr. Farmer, that we had this year for next year. And once we sign that letter, then we got to commit to the budget of what he says his not to exceed funding is, which is $13,000. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Call for the sir.
Ms. Combs,
Aye.
Mr. Ricks,
Aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. Mr. Swayze,
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, so that brings us to, I believe, information updates. As always, I want to thank those who took their time to draft these. They are very much appreciated. We love the detail. Anything else? Questions of people? Anyone, feel free.
I love the information updates. I think they're the best. Thank you for everybody who puts the time into putting them together.
Awesome. Okay, that brings
And
us.
I'm happy that Mr. Williams has something to report now on sports.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yes, it's nice between the basketball season and now volleyball, we actually get some sports updates from him. You know, it's nice. It's our new normal, I guess, but it's nice to see.
All right, anything else? All right, so that brings us to 11. Other business. The leave policy committee. Mr. McNerney, do you feel that you have enough move forward with that, or do you need a formal action by the board to make that happen?
You broke up a little. Say that again, Randy.
The leave policy committee. You know, to form the committee, have them write the changes. I mean, the only thing that I'm really interested in is maintaining the new structure that the CASB core policy manual has. I'm not interested at all in mandating content. I want the staff to feel free to you know, put the content in there that they feel is appropriate and necessary. But I would like to maintain the structure that CASB has in place with a, you know, family leave, military leave, annual leave, sick leave breakout.
So actually, I've been speaking with Ms. Petrikaitis, our HR and business services, and to answer your question, I don't think the board needs to appoint it. I have enough people interested and the right people with guided inputs that I think we could formulate that without an appointment, if you're okay with that.
I'm absolutely fine with that. The last thing I want to do is call a special for Monday to give you direction to form a committee.
I think we have some passionate, invested people that produces a good result.
Cool. Okay. Any other business? All right. Hearing none, I believe that brings us to 12.0 adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Carries. We are adjourned. Thank you for your time and patience on this lengthy meeting today. We will try to make it not so tedious in the future. But again, thank everyone for showing up and good questions, and we'll see you next time.